Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in.
Well, this is coming much sooner than I expected, though I suppose the fault is mine for underestimating the community. I hoped I could sit back and ease myself into returning to the discussion arena, but then I stumbled upon a new video from Kathleen at Worth 1,000 Words, and found myself chomping at the bit to slide back into the ring. Bearing in mind the obligatory warning that I could very well be quite rusty at this, I'm excited to see if I can still do it, so let's see. The video in question discusses an issue that I've seen mentioned a number of times recently, though if I may be pompous for a second, a lot of the time I've seen it brought up, it was done in such a clumsy and seemingly self-serving way that I really didn't have any trouble tuning out the conversation. Of course, that's changed with Kathleen's dive into the topic. Her video is articulate, and she expresses an open mind, yet clearly defined perspective on the issue. I know a number of booktubers who should take heed when Kathleen does one of these videos, and take notes. There's a lot to learn from her about giving purpose to the topic and giving a unique and meaningful opinion. What's a topic, you ask? Well,
obscure books, why we don't read them, and whether we should be reading them more.
The whole concept that obscure books don't get reviews is merely a small section of a much larger issue that has been going on in Booktube since long before I found myself making content on this platform. Reviews do not get as many views as other Booktube staples. This isn't opinion, this is observational fact. There are very few channels who can look through their content and actually boast their reviews are as popular, let alone more popular, than their TBRs and wrap-ups and hauls. The fact that obscure books seemingly get the shaft when you take a surface view of the circumstance is a symptom of a much larger machine at work. I can feel already this is going to be a long one, guys, so please bear with me. In order to get a complete image of what exactly is happening right now, there's a couple of things we need to establish first. First thing is we need to take a look at the major difference between a review and other Booktube videos. When you post a wrap-up, you are providing content where the viewer doesn't know exactly what you're going to be talking about. Even if they are a die-hard viewer, follow your TBRs, and read your tweets, there's always that chance there will be a surprise, or they want to hear what your thoughts are on a specific book that you've read this month. But in a wrap-up, there are a bunch of books that could be appealing to that viewer. It's not limited to just a single one. I can't tell you how many wrap-ups I've watched because I know for a fact that the booktuber read my best friend's Exorcism that month, and I had to know what they really thought of it, even if I couldn't stand the rest of their books. A review doesn't have that broad appeal. There is no mysterious element, so there's no opportunity for curiosity clicks from YouTube passerbys. A review is titled and very specific to what book will be discussed in the video. There isn't a handful of books that could possibly interest the watcher. The draw must be that single individual book. This immediately limits the mass appeal of these videos, and just by its very nature dictates you're working with a reduced potential audience. So, working under the assumption that we begin review videos with a handicap in terms of viewership, an important question must be answered. Why do people watch reviews? Period. Well, question mark, I guess. For this, I've boiled it down to 3 simplistic answers. Of course, there are far more variables that play a role in this, but I feel most will fall into one of these 3 categories. The first is regular viewers. This is your standard. This refers to the people you talk to all the time on Twitter and Voxer, the friends you've made, the subscribers you know will watch your video because they always do. If you've contributed to this community for longer than a couple of months, then I'm sure you know what group I'm referring to. They're the ones you know will eventually post a comment on your video, and they never disappoint. They are generally not repelled by you talking about something they may or may not be interested in, and they will generally give you the benefit of a doubt on all your videos, within reason. The second area is the book itself. This is a broad category and includes a variety of rationales. For some, they're simply fans of the author and want to see what you thought of the book. Some may be interested in the book, but want to get more input before deciding if they will purchase it and read it for themselves, while others may have read it and are looking to see if their thoughts and feelings coincide or conflict with your own. Possibly they've heard terrible things about the book, but the synopsis sounded so great to them. Or they've heard wonderful things, but can't fathom how such a horrible premise could be a good book. There are endless examples I can give of how the book itself can draw a viewer to your channel to watch the review. This method is also the one most likely to reach outside of your specific Booktube circle, because you'll have people searching for the book and finding your channel instead of vice versa. Of course, there are multiple variables that will affect whether or not this book is being searched at any given time. The genre, how long it's been published, if there's any buzz around it at the current moment. Unfortunately, the lower profile the book has, the least influential it can be to get people to look for it, meaning it will suffer when it comes to getting views. The third and final reason people click on a video review is you. The unique and compelling way in which you present yourself in said video. Whether you find a new slant on how to analyze the book, whether you take concepts from the book and make interesting tangents, or maybe you instill a degree of humor and the review is entertaining. This pull generally leads to word of mouth and people sharing your video because of the mentality of, oh man, you have to watch this guy, he's hilarious. Or, oh, just you check her out, she's fascinating. Or whatever it is. So when it comes to reaching an audience who doesn't already know you, the lower profile the book has, the more you need to make your presentation of the review become a pull factor to get people to recommend to their friends. Now we get to Kathleen's 4 questions she posed in her video. The first of which is...
The first thing I want to address is specifically why we don't read obscure or uncommon books on Booktube typically.
Of the 4 questions, this one has the most divisive answer. Without question, I suspect it's going to touch a chord with some of you watching this, but in the interest of ripping off the band-aid and giving up this endless preamble, I'll just say it. Obscure books do not get reviewed because they don't get views. And although many will attest otherwise, people care about getting views. Do I think this is a flawed ideal? Well, no. Like I'm constantly saying on my channel, I respect sincerity and transparency above all else. If you come here to Booktube to be Booktube famous, well, I think you really should reconsider quitting your day job anytime soon. But I won't fault you for the ambition. Booktube is a diverse community with thousands of different ideals, opinions, and ambitions. There's nothing wrong with either focusing on, or at least paying heed to your channel growth. But if that's your aim, please don't be one of those who constantly talk about not caring about your sub count, only to voice opinions that shouldn't be a problem for somebody who doesn't care about such trivial things. I've used this example before. Someone who continues to post videos but doesn't see any growth in their views at all is less likely to continue with being on Booktube because eventually it feels like shouting into a void. It's tough not to feel unappreciated when you put work into a video and it hardly gets any views. And unfortunately, when you make a review video, it takes longer for those views to trickle in. So, establishing reviews do not get many views, and my earlier breakdown translates to obscure books being further neglected by viewers, since they lack that draw power on their own. An obscure book review theoretically ranks near the bottom of the totem pole for possible successful Booktube videos. There are only so many hours in a day. We only have so much time to commit to our craft when it comes to making videos. So then, by and large, it would be logical that people who want to see their channel grow would prioritize things much differently than those who don't care. For example, if the 2 to 3 hours it'll take you to film, edit, and upload a review of some random book that nobody but you really cares about could be spent doing a new viral tag, or a TBR, or even a review of the most recent hyped book, or anything that will require the same amount of effort but will result in triple the views and probably double the sub count growth. A lot of booktubers, especially small ones, have trouble enough keeping a consistent upload schedule as it is. Most of them probably wouldn't be stoked at the idea of putting in that much time into something that wasn't really going to pay off at all. This ties in with something else Kathleen talked about, the tendency of a booktuber to actually not read a book because they realize that doing a video on it would not get viewed. It's a tragic reality we live in, but this is an example of Booktube dictating reader behavior instead of reader tastes dictating the Booktube content. And for those who work and go to school, sometimes this is a real back and forth battle, a real internal conflict for them. They don't have much time to read a ton of books, so they want to be strategic in which books they read, i.e. the ones that will make interesting videos. Again, there's nothing inherently wrong with this. It's simply an example of someone who prioritizes the growth of their channel above making it a passion project. It doesn't mean they're reading things they hate per se. It just means amongst the things they want to read, they will choose the one that has the more mass appeal. This is why obscure books generally get put to the wayside when it comes to deciding on what you're going to film and what you're going to upload to your channel.
So the next thing I really want to talk about is why we don't want other people to make videos about obscure books.
The answer to this is more of an inverse of my previous assessment. We only have so many hours of free time in our days to watch Booktube videos. Maybe if you're relatively new and don't follow many people, you could be an exception to this, but for the most part, anecdotally, in my experience, I don't know a single person who's able to watch all of the videos of everyone they subscribe to. Especially now with the partnership changes and everyone in small Booktube subbing to each other, our feeds are blocked solid with new content that goes up every hour. If you only have an hour or two per day to watch YouTube videos, are you going to spend 10 to 20 of your 120 minutes on a review of a book you've never heard of, that you absolutely have no connection to? Or will you watch the new tag from that funny booktuber you enjoy? Unfortunately, again, it's going to boil down to, why should I watch this review? I don't care about the book, I have no idea who the author is, and as much as I might like the booktuber, there really isn't anything overly special about their reviews. So while Booktube may be an inclusive and inviting community, and it is, I don't mean that sarcastically, within the subfeeds though, you are still in competition with everyone else to get those views because we just don't have the time to watch everything we want to watch. And an obscure review will hardly ever be a priority over a more engaging and entertaining video, unless you regularly give them a reason to care about your videos independently from the book you're talking about.
So I want to talk a little bit now about whether this unwillingness to both make videos about obscure books and the unwillingness to watch videos about obscure books hinders our community.
The blunt and to the point answer for this is no, it's not. But again, one pompous moment is enough for a single video, so I will elaborate. I don't think this is a negative or a positive thing on the community. I think it's simply just the nature of the beast. It's human nature to not go to something without being attracted to it. It's also natural to desire attention, especially for those on a video platform like YouTube looking to share ideas and thoughts. So I don't think it's necessarily a hindrance so much as it is just the normal aspect of the community that will never change. But it can be navigated through with proper understanding of why things are the way they are. Which brings me to her final question, is there a solution?
And finally, I want to address whether there's a solution to this, which honestly, I don't think there is.
There really isn't a solution I can think of to get people to do more obscure book reviews or get people to watch more book reviews in general. The only thing I can think of would be to present yourself and develop a reputation for doing incredibly entertaining or insightful reviews, and hopefully gain a reputation that people can enjoy these videos without knowing or caring anything about the book. Maximize the you factor because the book draw is at a 0 for obscure books. So you need to compensate for that. It sounds shallow and it sounds like I'm telling you to put on a show, but that's unfortunately the best thing I can come up with because we're only talking about views here. If you sincerely don't care about the views, you can do these videos. You know, if you got a couple hundred subs, you're probably going to get 30, 40, 50 views on this video because people will come for you. You have your regular viewers, the standard, the ones I mentioned earlier. They will come regardless, so you can always have your conversation. But I think Kathleen said, if this is not concerning engagement, but broad engagement, if you want broad engagement, you're going to need to include broad appeal. And if the book itself can't be that appeal, then it has to be you. So make it funny, make it intelligent, compare it to some things that people really enjoy. Do anything you can think of that will make the review itself be the draw. People are coming because your video is so awesome. I need to see this video. It doesn't matter what the book is, and that's the main thing. That's the only real way this is going to change. It's not something I see changing anytime soon because again, you just can't get mass appeal on a book review without the book being in the zeitgeist right now, without it being talked about everywhere, without it being very present in the community already. And so this is but a surface level dive into the abundance of things that Kathleen brought up in her video. And honestly, Kathleen, I don't know how you make a video that dense in 6 minutes, honestly. She touched on whether popularity of a book gives the book value and worth. That could be its own specific video from me. She touched on how this affects, indie authors and local authors and, visibility and such. And that's something that I honestly should have touched on since, I am the indie Insomniac. Indie is 50% of what I live for when it comes to publishing, but I didn't get a chance to even touch on that. So this is not a simple discussion that's going to be done with one video. I'd recommend checking out Kathleen's and think on it for yourself. And if you have an issue with anything I said, if you agree, if you disagree, if you have other reasons why you think people watch reviews that I haven't thought about, then let me know below. I want to hear as much input on this particular topic as possible, because this is something that's ever present in the Booktube community, and I can't see it going away anytime soon. So with that, I leave this half-finished conversation to you, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Cheers.